What is good, the Wolf is here, and in this Let's Talk video, we're going to be talking Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, the build-up that's been to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite over the years. All the games in the Marvel vs. Capcom series has led to, the brand new game. You have to go back and respect the older titles, the goods and the bads of the series to get to where you are now, and also the goods and the bads of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Now, I know there's a lot of people saying that there's a lot more bad than good with the game, so let's break it down. Let's go in depth and talk about everything that there is to talk about when it comes to Marvel vs. Capcom, and especially Infinite. And you know me, I don't just like to trash on a game, I like to say how I would like to see it fixed. So let's get into it. So the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about the history of Marvel vs. Capcom is just the fact that these two huge franchises, two huge, brands, they come together to make this one huge package deal that is Marvel vs. Capcom. It didn't start out as Marvel vs. Capcom though. It started out as XMen vs. Street Fighter back in 1997 in the arcades, and then a little bit later, the next year in 1998 in the home console generation, which was pretty much the starting of fighting games being at home, because you had to go down to the arcade, spend some cash, play the people in the arcades, and learn, get your ass beat, learn, and then you come back for more, and hey, who knows, you might just win a tournament. Yeah, that's the fighting games for you. That's the FGC for you. It's pretty cool stuff. So it's undoubtable that Marvel vs. Capcom has had an influence over the fighting games that have been made over the years. I mean, you just take a look at a certain game that has, a Dark Knight versus a certain Scorpion character with some godly characters in the background floating around and everything. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. DC versus Mortal Kombat. The game was kind of trash, but still, the influence is there. DC, and I'm pretty sure, NetherRealm, they saw what was happening with the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, and they retaliated by trying to bring two other big brands together and make it work. Unfortunately, the ideas and the development did not go all the way through to make the package deal what it could be, but who knows, maybe in the future we'll see another attempt at it that will actually work. NetherRealm can make one hell of a great game. DC with the Arkham Knight series and such, they can make one hell of a, with WB mixed with DC. If those developers came together to make a fighting game, it could be a masterpiece just on the same level as what Marvel vs. Capcom has been in the past, what MKX is now, Injustice 2. I mean, there's so much potential there even. But we are talking about Marvel vs. Capcom, so let's bring it back over to that. So after multiple console releases and arcade releases, including Ultimate Editions and packed rosters with a bunch of characters that you've always wanted to see in a video game, animations, CGI trailers, the whole 9 yards, including also keeping to the lore for the most part of what the characters stand by and go through and everything, with the dialogue lines that happen every time the beginning of a match starts to go. You would think, how is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite not one of the biggest games to be looking out for and not have everybody hyped? The history and everything that's there, it should be like God standard in fighting games. But when you put Marvel vs. Capcom versus giants like Mortal Kombat or even Street Fighter V, as much as people want to hate on Street Fighter V, still, I think they don't like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite even more because, the package deal. We have multiple, like the XMen are missing, which is very, with the movies that are out and everything. We see the X-Men in other forms of media, which is movies, mobile games, free-to-play games on the PC and all that stuff. We see those characters being used by developers, but then they're missing from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Now, the development team behind Infinite has already said that nobody really cares about the X-Men as much as, they're trying to bring new characters into the fold because the younger generation probably doesn't even, realize how important the X-Men are to the whole thing. Nobody agrees with that, on the simple fact that if the younger generation don't realize how important the X-Men are, then you should show them how important the X-Men are. This is a learning curve. When I play Injustice 2, half the characters in the game I kind of have not even heard of before, because I have never followed the comic books and the cartoons and animated movies and everything as closely as most other people. So to me, the Red Hood, I heard of him, but I didn't really know his backstory. It made me go and check out the backstory of it. Starfire, never heard of her before the DLC popped up on Injustice 2. Now, I think she's a pretty cool character. But the biggest one for me is we just had the movie Logan, Wolverine, introducing X-23, rated R movie. Everybody loved it. Wolverine and X-23 are gone. They were in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. There's a build-up for those characters. Where are they? Free DLC, extra DLC add-ons, Old Man Logan skin. I mean, hell, if I was selling this game, I would definitely have Wolverine in the game. And I would say if you pre-order the game, you get the Old Man Logan skin for free with the game. That's easy pre-orders. Everybody would love that. X-23, you get like this biker chick version of her. That's easy money. Come on. And then, of course, the other problem with the game is the story mode. Now, we had the demo of the story mode, and I guess the actual... Okay, so we have seen more stuff of the story mode. The story mode is looking a hell of a lot better now, although I'm really concerned about there being the dialogue of the try hard to be funny dialogue. That it does work in the movies for the most part, but for me, if you're sitting there a 5 to 8 hour story mode and you're hearing nothing but like either really corny jokes or very try hard jokes that are just trying to get a chuckle out of you without just naturally doing it, that ruins the story mode. It just makes me go, oh, okay, yeah, right, that was funny, haha. Alright, so yeah, I've talked about the roster, I've talked about the history and the influence. Now, probably the biggest thing for me personally, outside of the roster, outside of having characters in the game that I really want to play as, is the netcode, to make sure that both the netcode and online ranking systems work. Because if the online abilities do not work in a fighting game especially, then if there's nothing to do outside of the online, like the arcade modes are kind of like a one and done, you do it once and you're like, okay, then there's no real reason to keep playing the game. It's like the game is only worth like maybe $30 at the most at that point. And when we see other games like Injustice 2 having a multiverse where you have all this, customization, creative ability to make the characters into the way you want them to be, but then you have the multiverses where you have multiple towers and everything to go through and get all the gear and all that stuff. That is so attention grabbing, it is unreal. Right now I'm thinking about I wonder what towers I'm missing for gear on my characters and everything. I really want to go back and play Injustice 2 now. And then when I get that gear set and make my characters look so cool, I want to take them online and beat somebody's ass online with that cool look. So I'm not saying that we need to be able to customize characters. I'm saying we need the characters there that we care about. We need to have skins on the characters that are really cool. Maybe they're unlockable skins. You do so many matches online with a character, you get their alternate skin, and boom, it makes you want to play online that much more to get those skins. And then to play online, we need that netcode to work. Everything in the game is, it's like pieces of the machine, making the game run very well for everybody. If you want to see people playing your game, especially streaming it or making videos on the game, make sure that the netcode and matchmaking, because you don't want to be put in there in a ranked match where you're trying to get maybe your stats looking cool and everything, to have 20 wins and 2 losses or whatever the case may be. You don't want that ranking system to put you in there with somebody that's 10 times your rank. That does not make the game fun. That just makes it a slaughter for your opponent to kick your ass. That's not good. Now, on top of that, if the netcode is making the characters go all over the place, and there is, people that read frame data or play footsies or whatever the case may be, if you can't actually play the game the way you need to be playing it, especially when you have so much going on in the screen, when you can have multiple tags in and out and have 2 fights going on at the same time and all that stuff, definitely make the netcode run the right way. Now, I don't know why. I do not know why we do not have a beta coming for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I mean, the game is right around the corner, so at this point, it would be either they would have a day 1 patch to make damn sure that the game runs well online, or it would just be a gigantic beta to show off gameplay mechanics and make it so that, hey, this game is kind of fun, even though the roster is kind of eh. The company that they have working on the netcoding, I guess, doesn't have the best record of making the games run the proper way or consistently run, very well online. So at this point, to me, it feels like the game's only like 70% done. They're pushing it out there. They really need to like delay the game maybe until next year, like the beginning of 2018. Give the developers all that time to make sure the game is running absolutely as smooth as possible and polished up, make all the faces look good. There's one trailer I still need to make a video reacting to it and everything, which I will get around to when I get the chance. But for the most part, it just feels like the game is like I said, like 70% done. Okay, one big way that I would fix the game is pretty much for the missing characters part. Okay, I would say, as I said before, have Wolverine in the game with the Old Man Logan skin, X-23 as a biker chick attire, just have her in there with her X-Men suit on, and then the pre-order bonus is her biker chick attire. Easy pre-orders right there. Get Dante in there with maybe even the newer Dante attire. If you pre-order, boom, you get the brand new. I know there's a lot of people that didn't like the newer Dante look of the last Devil May Cry game, but why not? The people that did like it, hey, definitely, Leon Kennedy. We've had Chris in the game already a couple times. Get Leon Kennedy, get Claire Redfield. Resident Evil 2 attire, Jill Valentine. Everybody loves that attire. It's an easy pre-order bonus right there. Have Jill in there as maybe like a preview of maybe RE7 DLC if Jill Valentine is in the RE7 DLC. Like, you have contacts with Capcom, try and make some stuff happen. Other ones just off the top of my head be like Doom, of course. Add him in there because everybody loves the villain of Doom. Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. Why not have Chris Pratt come in and voice the character even? They had Stephen Amell come in for Injustice, and he voiced Green Arrow and have full skin from Arrow, the TV show Arrow, for the Green Arrow in Injustice 1.
That's what I call an entrance. Time for the grand finale.
Have something like that in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Give us something to look forward to. Have it as a pre-order bonus. Whatever. And also, reach your ties out. Marvel or Capcom, whichever one. How could Capcom not get some guest characters? Like, say, maybe Devil Jin, or even better yet, Devil Kazuya. He would fit very well in with the whole thing. I mean, hell, Tekken 7 has Akuma from Street Fighter, and then they're also going to have Geese from Virtual Fighter. Like, come on, give us some guest characters in Marvel vs. Capcom. Make it so that those characters play or look just a little bit different. That's like exclusive to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Selling point for the game right there, if you did it. So I think at this point, with roster members being missing, I would love to see in the game that have already been in the game, and then also no real guest characters in the game either. I will wait for it to either be on sale or an Ultimate Edition to come out, and check that stuff out, because I mean, the pre-order, to be able to play as Sigma, you have to pre-order a $90 edition of the game. Like, come on, that's over the top right there. That's you had the line right there, and you're stepping 1 foot over it. Like, why do you have to buy the big expensive edition to have access to one of the main bosses in the game that you're already going to be fighting? He's right there. That's literally going to probably be like a code just to unlock him in the game. He's probably not even, you don't even have to download him. It's literally, he's in the game. You just have to unlock him. That's a kick right in the groin by the developers themselves. So on top of that too, if you remember back, Street Fighter V had all the hype in the world going into it, and then they came out with the beta, which is maybe why they don't want to come out with a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite beta. But Street Fighter V had its beta that went, and everybody remembers the long waiting times in the lobby, sitting in the lobby for 4 hours straight, getting one match, and then and then Street Fighter V, when it released, it had some problems at release 2 with the same matchmaking stuff until I think it was almost a month later or something like that. No story mode was in that one, so Capcom is on kind of thin ice when it comes to fighting games right now because of the very rough and rocky release of Street Fighter V. So now they are on point to having another very rough and rocky release in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It's not looking good for Capcom right now. So, I've said what I think is wrong with the game. Now, how would I fix it? I've kind of already gone over a couple different fixes, in the topics I said, but just one more overview of everything very quickly. I would definitely change the roster, add some DLC characters in, same DLC characters from UMVC 3, make them for free, hopefully. Hell, I would even do like a retro pack, taking the old sprites from even like Marvel 2 or XMen versus Street Fighter, and just make them to work with the game now. I know that's with some like polish to them, and I know it takes some time and some money and everything for it to be free DLC. But, even if you made them like a pre-order bonus for the DLC, you get these 3 extra packs of free DLC if you pre-order the game early. Another big one too, because everybody keeps complaining about the graphics and the way the design is in the game and different faces like Tony Stark and Chun-Li was a big one. There was memes about it and everything. A day one patch for graphics, which is in the works. They have already, I think in the latest trailer that they showed, Chun-Li's face was actually fixed to make her look very good. So use all the resources that you got from 2 different companies that are 2 of the biggest companies in the world in Marvel and Capcom, and get the graphics fixed, man. Like, why is that an issue when you have 2 of the biggest companies working? Marvel works pretty much specifically in design with movies and TV shows and the whole 9 yards that they do. So when it comes to the online stuff, okay, I will say this. It doesn't need to work day one, because then that just gives a reason. It gives everybody an excuse to go and check out all the offline, maybe single player stuff and everything, like story mode and all that. So, maybe not day one, it absolutely needs to work 100%, but at least in the first week, because the week sales, everything goes by the first week sales. If the game is not performing in the first week, the sales are going to be so low that it's just going to bottleneck the game into this downward spiral of just being forgotten about and being lost. And make the netcode work, even if it's just player match that works, make it work within the first week. That's my time frame for it. After the first week, I could care less about the game after that point if it's not working, because there's so many other fighting games out there right now. I'd rather go back and play Tekken. I'd rather go back and play Mortal Kombat X. Just give us something within the first week. First 3 days, people usually reserve, if they want to go through story mode, they usually reserve that time to go through story mode. And so if there's no working online, that kind of just keeps everybody on the same playing field, and it makes it easier for people that maybe don't want to get blown up from getting attacked one time. All right, so one of the biggest red flag attention drawing things that was happening in the game was the easy combo where you hit the square button or the X button, whichever console you're playing on. You hit pretty much the punch button. I think it's the light attack button. I'm still kind of a noob when it comes to remembering how to speak all the buttons. But you hit that jab button repeatedly, and it automatically goes into an auto combo. Okay, we're gonna... I'm playing the game at evil quality levels. I'm a pro. I'm a pro. I'm totally pro. I'm so pro right now. I love this game. This game is amazing. Now, one of the biggest things that came to my mind was online. That if that is spammable online, that is going to break the game so easily, because anybody with a turbo controller, if you have a fight stick that has a turbo function in it, you just set that one button and then you just go, and you're beating everybody online that easy. Make the damage so minimal that you can't actually use it to spam out. It's literally just a learning thing, just to see what the initial combo is. And then just teach people in like a tutorial or something. This is the initial combo. If you hit the button, you'll see it happen in front of your face. And then read the moves out, and then in the tutorial tell them how to do each move. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. And so the number one biggest thing, though, I still say is an open beta, not a closed beta, an open beta, so everybody can download the game, get in there, get their hands on the gameplay mechanics of it, so then they can see whether the game is actually fun or if it is total trash like everybody's thinking, and just be able to check out the latest build and release before the game releases. You don't even have to call it a beta, or just call it an open demo or something, Make the beta into a glorified huge demo so everybody can get hands on with it, because that's the only way that the game is really going to sell. I remember Injustice 2, everybody was kind of like, I don't know, I didn't really like the feel of the first Injustice, and the graphics looked kind of on the first Injustice 2. It was just, it was a long time ago, but then the open beta hit. Even the closed beta, when that hit, Injustice 2, by word of mouth, just the hype for it just became a reality when the betas hit and we actually got hands on and saw just how fun and cool the game was, and all the cool stuff you could do in it with stage transitions and linking combos together. Of course, the projectile stuff is bad right now in Injustice 2, which that's an Injustice thing. But then you could actually kind of figure out, well, just because you're seeing a lot of these players doing so many spammable, moves, there is ways of getting around it. You just have to figure it out, and that came from the beta and people getting hands-on with it for free for a limited time during the beta period. That's what Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite needs, is that word of mouth of saying, hey, the game mechanics are awesome, the roster might be a little bit the graphics might look a little bit but the gameplay is so fun that you can kind of get around that stuff for now until an Ultimate Edition hits or DLC packs hit, so then you end up buying, paying extra to get the extra characters and everything if you want to. If not, you'll end up just dropping the game anyways. But just the initial sales of it, to get the DLC rolling, to get more characters in that people actually care about, have an open beta, get that word of mouth around to boost the sales of the game. Again, it's not hard to really figure out. It's just the fact of whether they will do it or not. Any beta for any game, whether it be closed or open, I do know, or alphas, or whatever else the case may be, I do know from a developer standpoint that it does cost extra to have both either a demo on Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, because you have to release it through them, or a beta of any type, or an alpha or beta of any game of any type. It costs extra both in development and also kind of, I guess it's licensing or a spot on the network to be able to post all, the beta or the alpha for a game. So it does take extra work and cost a little extra, but in the end, you are going to make that cash back, like I said, from word of mouth, from the game selling better because of better game mechanics than what people are thinking is in the game. Because right now, the only way that you could have checked the game out at a serious level was if you went to either E3 or Evo. If you can't travel, pretty much at this point, it's not even worth buying the game because you don't really know what you're kind of getting yourself into. The story demo was so bad that it's just like, well, that just killed the game for me right there. So overall, I guess the main thing in the video is that yes, I'm going to wait and see later on down the line for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite whether or not they actually update the game enough to consider it to be purchasable. Because right now it does not feel like a finished game. I did the same thing with Street Fighter. I jumped the gun on Street Fighter, and I don't want to get burned again. Street Fighter 5, it was just a broken game in the end, and I thought they were going to fix it. I didn't really know how Capcom worked, but yeah, I see now that if a game is kind of broke and they're behind it, then it's kind of stay that way. It's just the way they operate. I love the Resident Evil series, which is a Capcom series. I absolutely love that series. I'm pretty sure Devil May Cry is another one, which is in the same vein of the Resident Evil series. It's just a hack and slash. Those are two very good series. It's just right now Marvel vs. Capcom is having a very low point in its franchise or in its series, whatever. So yeah, hopefully there is some very big fixes, and I think it's going to be kind of too late by the time they get the game fixed up, and the game is going to be pretty much a flop. But hopefully in time we will see more tournaments, we'll see more players hop on board with the game after you figure out the game mechanics of it, of being not total schlock, if you want to use that word. And maybe the game might have a resurgence. I don't really think so. I think the game is just going to be another kind of like swept under the rug title. For some people that's hard to stomach. For other people it's like, whatever we have, Tekken and Injustice and with Dragon Ball's coming out and Mortal Kombat we can go back to, which MK11 is probably right around the corner for E3 in June next year. So there's so many more fighting games. Virtual Fighter, Guilty Gear, Killer Instinct. There's so many fighting games out there that you can't afford in this day and age of all these titles being out. You can't afford to have your game be feeling like it's only like 70% done, or not have characters that people care about. You need to actually listen to the fan base. I've seen the same thing because I come from the shooter community, not the fighting game community. I come from the COD fan base, really. I mean, I've done so many videos and breakdowns and reactions to the Call of Duties over the years, and the one thing that I noticed was they stopped listening to the fan base, and so the game fizzled out. Is Capcom doing an Activision right now with their game? It kind of feels like it. When there's so many other shooters out there, it does it or so many other fighting games that does it better, just like there were so many other shooters that did it better. Yes, that's the recipe for disaster for Marvel vs. Capcom going forward. Also, not just for Infinite, but going forward. Resident Evil 7 did not sell as well as Resident Evil 6 because of Resident Evil 6 being like the word of mouth was. It was a terrible game. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was as good as it could have been. But Resident Evil 7 was amazing, and it just didn't hit as well as Capcom wanted it to, especially with VR and all that stuff that they have on it. It's an amazing package deal. Definitely highly recommend going out and checking it out if you have not. So anyways, this has been the Let's Talk. I'm Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and what I find is wrong and how I would fix it. Like I said, it's a breakdown, talking about it. So that has been the Let's Talk. So if you like this video, you can hit that like button, you can share it around, and as always, of course, if you subscribe to the channel, it's going to make sure that you stay tuned for all new videos coming soon.